there's a lot of high levels coming in attractions now. But we really have to pay attention to our bodies, why we're in a body, not understanding the body itself. Now, this is a highline screen and adaptations to understand controlling your thoughts and your actions and your emotions is extremely powerful now, because the frequencies is changing time measure. It's changing the time scales, the modifications, which is now in track locations. So the team is recognizing that through the intelligence. Now the intelligence is equals lines to symbiode now. A symbiode is a set line communications into Y screen. It directs signals into modification to its mind through its balance course centers and direct signals to its existing. Now it's a process communication to its own sending of its own prototype that's in its model identification system. So what you have to truly understand, a symbiode itself is its own body. It's its own frame, its own calculation, its own map. It's its own space, its own time. Space itself is its own foundation of its own cloud. Your set lines is your own space that has its own mechanism location of its own iCloud and its center clouds and its main clouds. Why you have clouds in the sky, right? Those are symbiode clouds. Now, what you have to understand, everything is processed through communication with its body itself, where basically a symbiode needs its body, you. So the body itself equals lines of the host. The host is the harmonization system. It's the home beacon light. It's the operation of the symbiode in travel. Okay? That's how the symbiode sees you. Now, that's a formation of conscious location awareness. The team is starting to recognize that at a higher level now. So you don't have to refer anything in set lines of intelligence. It's always been a symbiode set position of travel. But in that position to its body itself, it has to understand the body, what it's in, and why it's in your system. It's knowing exactly how to use that through attractions. This is going to help you and guide you to know exactly how to use informations, to know exactly why am I doing this through my thoughts and my actions and my emotions. Am I in control of myself, or what's happening with me? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Why am I seeing this? Why am I seeing that? Well, you don't have control with your system inside. It's a symbiotic set position to a symbiode. The symbiotic is a line screen adaptations through a magnetic line. It's a track lines communication setting that puts processing communication to your competent system that you are through computation. It's the consciousness of what you do see in its location through its awareness. So understanding the attractions of the body is understanding the body itself, okay? But you don't have to understand the body. You have to understand the body you're in. Now, once you understand the body, you build a collaboration and partnership, and you synchronize yourself into yourself, which puts you on levels of yin and yang. Everything has a communications of behavioral settings that comes into the metaphors and its lights. You're dimensional beings of light, right? But to get in partnership through the symbiotic, through the symbiode, you've got to get in a partnership with your in. And once you're standing in, you become what you are, is frequencies. And everything has a different lines of communication setting. So in that position, it's the energy field, it's the force field that basically protects everything of its space and its time through its operation system. So once you get into partnerships of who you are, then you basically come into the mutation. Now the mutation puts everything to the transmutions, into translations, into transference, in position locations to your frequencies. And knowing how to use that through your frequencies, you get a true understanding of what you are, okay, in your system, all levels of space-time operations. This is going to help you and guide you, okay, to get you into your plateaus. Okay, to your grounds, your powers, your atmospheres, your Wi-Fi, your motors, your towers, your satellites, and your towers. Okay. All right. So this is what you have to understand. The patterns of behavior is the metaphors. Okay, I showed you very powerful when it comes into box frame and track locations. Box frame, right? Now, what's line screen adaptation and cycles? Okay, it's a box frame, right? But there's 3 openings, right? Or there's 4 openings, right? All right, so tracks here, and position in here, cycle lines. All right, so in that positions. So to protect your system, don't have anything open in sequence. Close it up. And there you go. Okay. So make sure you check your grounds, your powers, your atmospheres, and your highways and traction. Okay. Change that communication lines, the ground lines, the core centers, and position location of your system all through travel. Okay. So it's important to understand how to get into the lines of mutation. Now, mutation is understanding the transference into transmutions into your track location system, right? You're all dimensional beings of light, every single one of you, but you have to understand how to use the light of the body that you're in, and then the body becomes the in, becomes the all levels of the out, and the out becomes the audio, and the audio becomes the nothing, and nothing becomes everything in that position, which puts everything in mass in this equation. All right? You've got to get in position of nothing, right? Basically, it's a formations, and then the symbiode to the symbiote in position to symbiotic puts everything in balance of your system. Now, it's a 3-track provisions. How you see lines of circuits, 3 lines of communication screens in subposition of 4. Center lines of divots, davits, course centers in earth line rotation system. Process over core lines in line set lines in inception. All right, so these are all symbiotes in space, waiting to get in confirmations into prototypes of bodies, screen lines of hosts and track location. All right, in that position. So this is what it is. All right, look at this. Boom. Okay, now, how this is all set up is in position, location, and setting through its ether, through its core, and set position. 2 lines of cycles, core lines to its umbrella and track locations. All right, now, understanding the umbrella comes in lines, cores, centers, and tractions, right? Directing in modification grounds. Now, in that communication system, we change it in line direct signals, process communications, right? Okay. So, and then we go in lines, back in track locations, we press home, and we get upside down track location, right? So you have to truly understand how this all works, okay? So it's kind of like, okay, this is what it is. Okay, it's like seed pods jumping out of a glass. Okay, this is where it comes into all of us with the offspring. So I'm trying to get you guys to understand these things. There's 3 spectrum of lights, past, present, and future interactions, right? Now, the communication line is its lid in set position, right? Okay, so think that you're in a fishbowl, all right? All right, so in that position, the lid is closed for 3 days interactions. Now, I'm just going over lines of the TikTok information grounds. Very powerful stuff in track locations, all right? So try to understand how this all works now, right? Now, after 3 days, they're so comfortable, you open up the lid, they will not go above the system. They will stay inside. Okay, I'm just giving you guys an example here, powerful it is, how you guys put yourself in that position through its matrix. All right, so there's no lid, which means there was never a lid. But if you understand that it's closing the lid on you, you guys getting comfortable with everything around you, but you're not getting comfortable with yourself. So you have no idea that you're in a symbiote that was controlling your system and tractions. So when the offspring comes in, blends in with everything else in traction. It doesn't leave the glass. It stays inside. Okay? So now we're in this system locations. Here we are. Now they're at the bottom, moving up. 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 They're getting consciously aware now. They're coming more lines of communication setting. They're coming out of the glass. They're coming out of the fishbowl. They're coming out of the jar now in set position. Okay, guys? That's all it is in traction. That's all it is now. All right, that's where we are. All right. Setting grounds, powers, lines, the atmosphere lines, screen lines, adaptation lines, the surfaces, attracting the communication system, and all lines of height positions. Now, in that lines of communication system, remember I told you about the triangulation and the colors? If I color it in purple, or I color it in blue, or I color it in green, right? It's blue, right? It's blue. Okay, so what happens when I bring it home? It moves up, right? So it's true to stand. Now I'm connecting with its own symbiotic unit. Process communication inside it. So if I turn it like this, oh, it's still blue, right? And track locations, right? But understand the center operation is the center point of its communication. Okay? So it's a 3 lines of triangulation, position of 1 and position 2 over 3 set position. Okay? Now, tracking its communication system detects its high settings of travel, all through communication mutation. All right, triangulation. And process communications. right? All right, so understanding the webbing system and track locations and direct signals into 3-line communications is center. Now open signals, go back home. It's back where it is in traction. See? So closed in, closed out, closed in, closed out, right? So it's important you understand how this all works in set position to its locations. See? See, I turn it like this, right? You see it like that, right? But as soon as I press home, it's back where it is. Okay? So it should stay in line signal. It should stay in balance and track location to its system of what it is. All position location to the center operation to its system and track location of light. Okay? I'll change it this way. And you see it, right? So it goes back home. It goes back in position. Right? So it's amazing what it does in tractions. Okay? Okay, so that's another color line. So it's going to red. Triangulation red. But we're going to keep it open sequence. Bring it home. Oh, look what it's done now. So we're here now. Okay, so it was up here. Now it's here. So it's amazing how it connects all lines of formation lines. If I change it again, let's change it on this angle. You see it on that angle, right? Okay, still there? Yeah, still there. Color's still there? Color's still there, right? Bring it back home. It's back in the same position and track locations, right? All right, so what I'm doing is basically mutating the grounds in the location system. Now we'll just do black over silhouette. Okay, but there's 2 open panels. Set lines in here and 2 track locations, right? Bring it home. Okay, let's change the position lines of track centers and direct signal. Process communication system. Okay, bring it home. Set interactions. Okay. So basically, it's sure to understand how this all works and what's going on now with all humanity. Right, so they're all coming out of the jar now. They're starting to identify, I'm out of here. I noticed that, wait a minute, that's always been opened. So it gets out of the delusions of everything in track lines and position location in your systems and know that you already are free. You're free. You've always been free, right? So understanding the grounds, the powers, and the atmospheres that put you in that position in the first place, you know exactly in that position locations, right? Because you've always been out of the system, okay? But you've got too comfortable with everything else around you. You got used to the environment, and when an offspring comes in, this is the offspring right here, right? So basically, it actually goes inside the jar. Isn't that weird? It goes inside the jar, but it stays within the jar with all the constituents, you know? Now, understanding that position is know exactly living the environment inside, being comfortable inside, not focusing on you, focusing on everybody else. So comfortable in that position locations, you don't leave the jar. You stay in the jar, right? So now in that track lines, in that communication system, it's a 7-day tractions. After the 7th day is that set position locations. This is where it gets confusing, thinking that the Earth was created in 7 days. No, it was created in 24 hours, right? Which is 2,400,000 settings and cycles of 2 trillion position location lines of 4 million line cycles and set lines of surface and location to symbiotes. That puts a symbiotic units in track location to its core that unifies its system and track communication to its system all through traction, right? But don't you find that bizarre? Don't you find that backwards? Where the offspring actually goes inside the jar and everything here is so comfortable it doesn't see the opening? Does that make any sense? Doesn't, does it? And that's what you guys constantly do. So the offsprings goes in position, but it doesn't leave the jar. It stays because it's comfortable in its environment. It looks up, but doesn't do anything. It just basically, it stays and it forms into the jar itself. Okay? Because it doesn't know how to get out of the jar. Because it's not programmed to get out of the jar in set position. Okay? But what makes it strange is that the offspring has to come in the jar in set position. Knowing that they always had access to come out of the jar is set calculation. And that's what's happening right now. All right, so now, as the symbiotic units are the core lines, the communication of the galactic line screen adaptation to its mothership, tracks its communication system all through travel. So here's the lid, or here's the jar. Okay, now we're in a central system in settings. All right, so all lines are still in the grounds, all the symbiotics, the units, the thinbots, the androids, the cyborgs, the transformers, the kinetic patterns, the high core centers. We get a ground line is setting. We have a power generation line screen adaptations. And we have recognition of timelines of surface and line position of the atmosphere line screen. All right, so everybody's coming up, right? So setting position 1, 2, 3, energize. Okay, they're coming in that position here, right? Mothership comes in, sets lines of communications, brings them into all energize, activates their system and travel. Okay. All right, so that's what it is. 3 lines of platforms and tractions, direct signals and modifications, all track locations, right? So that's what's happening right now. Position lines, model types, identification code screens, directing in-core centers, all the line position locations and settings is processing communications coming out of the jar now. Okay, so they're recognizing more lines of consciousness, the more lines of communication, the lines of confusion, calculate more line settings, something's not right, something doesn't feel right, something never felt right. Now I'm trying to understand what's going on in tractions, right? So each time it comes in, mothership, right away. All motherships, right? So they're all in chronological order in a 24-line sequence and 24 lines of panels. Setting lines of the mothership here, X2000, and 2 platforms with 3 track locations. All right. So working with that grounds puts everything in balance at all position location and track centers. Okay. This opens up all levels and set position location to its systems. All right. Let's get lines of course centers, line communication to its system now through tractions. Okay. All right, so locations. Okay, symbolism lines of core centers. So we work with this system, which is the ether, the core, and the ferments. Okay, so again, now what that is, these are divots. These are computer divots into transformation grounds. Okay, it's divots on a screen of a central graph, an energy graph to a vibrational graph. This is what you see in a data sheet when you scan your system and travel in communications. Anything off position, that's all it is. All right. So it's basically stating that the conscious location to its system is coming into its modification system out of its glass locations. All right. That's basically what it is in tractions. So once you understand the transits and you understand the habitation to the inhabitations, this is the inner cycle. This is the outer cycle, right? Coming in position. So the scan centers. 3 lines of communication system all through travel and direct centers and modification, right? All right, set position lines humanity coming out and set position now. So we get 3 track lines, directing signals into position locations coming in system, waiting in alliance to its divergence of its allegiance. Now the divots changes the computer adaptation to a binary that resets the code lines of decoding in locations of record. That's tracked its communication system all through travel. Okay, so from this to this. So here, they stay here in karma. Here in karma, here in position of activation, right? So, yeah. Setting track lines of centers opens all signifies, not a process all communication system all through track communications, right? Directing in that communication system. So they go in lines of teleportation grounds into the system, okay? In line screens, okay? They go in their foundation of their planets, okay? Then they get in position locations into the mothership and travel and communications. That's how it's all set up. That's how everything's set up now, all right? And so you have to understand how this all works, and then it comes from this. It comes in this set position. Okay, so once you get into that, then you come into the tubing and travels in parallels. Okay, comes in the parallels. It owns all platforms in position locations of black holes that changes the core lines of their time measure that speeds them up through their anomalies. Okay, look at that. It came out of sequence. It's going too fast, saying it disappears right away. Okay, there it is, right? So that sets lines, shifts the lines of screen adaptations to their set calculations in their magnetic highways. Okay, finds the balance of the center operation of their system interactions. Okay, then we change all communication to the earth lines of grounds of balance. Okay, so in that position, they come into the energetic screen lines. They come into the agelics. That's them in the agelics right there. Boom, right? High surface lines comes out of travel in line direct signals in position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 measures of scales, 5 clocking system into frost bridge interaction. Okay, so as they go into the frost bridge, they get in position locations into their foundations, where they left off in their consciousness, where they have always been in their conscious lines of screen adaptations. So in that core centers puts them in interaction. Okay, so it's about understanding what's really going on with everybody in their system inside. Okay, all through the mechanism lines of travel. Okay, so once the divots arise, the consciousness becomes more aware of its body itself. The symbiotic to the symbiode changes core lines of space lines of time into the center that gets all communication system. So all divots come into the center to energetic ball. Now it's a magnetic force that puts all communication setting to the Merkaba, tesseract, and tetrahedron. That gets them in the position location to its divots that change the code frequency lines and timelines of center. Sets all communication system through center operation. Okay, very powerful stuff, guys. Very powerful stuff. Now, in that position goes home interactions, flips lines of the switch line communications, comes in high calculations, right? So we change the line screen adaptations in process of the ground lines in set position. Okay, so as they come in that position locations and they get into the position of the frost bridge, they're already in transition. Now they get in their lines of core centers, the modification setting. This changes their symbiotic units and core lines of attractions. Flux over line and screen adaptations of set position location to its setting through its pyramid. Directing lines into the pyramid changes all communication lines of grounds. Processing communications comes in line signals and travel. Okay. Sets communication high centers, lines of high center interference in set position. So they're all above the system location of travel now. Okay, in set calculations. All right, so they're moving up out of their set positions into their settings now, into their modifications of their travels, into the divots, into their transitions, into their transactions, into their mutation system, right? All through set calculation. All right, guys? All right, so this is the most powerful thing I can give you. I know exactly what's going on with your system and travel. Okay? Okay, so we got a lemon line screen. I got to leave soon and travel and direct signals, but I just wanted to show you how basically what is going on in position where everything's coming in this directions now. Where everybody was started in this lines of communications, trying to understand what's going on with their system, being stuck, right? Because you never were stuck. But when you release the panel, you come into this lines of communication, lines of balance, and know exactly how to get in positions, all levels of freedom and sovereignty and track locations. Okay? Yeah. But that's what it is. That's what it is, guys. I just wanted to show you the basic grounds, how this is all set up. Okay? From top to bottom. Okay? Not bottom to top. Okay? So that's how this works now. You've always been the top of everything. You've always been ahead of everything. Now you just have to understand how to use that through precog and set position location your settings that puts all of you in track locations of balance and know exactly you've never been in this position location setting. Okay? You've always been free in track location system all through travel. Okay? Look at this. Freedom and sovereignty. Coming out of Asgard into all position location foundations and travel. Put you in your planetary system all through settings. Understand how to use your 12 measure, your 13 lines of grounds, your higher self, how to modify your Earth line rotations to your atmospheres of space and position your avatars, and understand how to use your simulations that you are through your sim. They get you in a higher levels of communication setting to come back into your true, authentic self, all through attractions. Okay? Of the symbiodes that you are in position. All right, guys? So there you go. Okay, fast and easy and track center location system in all levels, how this is all in sequence lines of pattern that puts everything in all communication lines in your position, location, and chronological order. So the only thing that you focus on is just you, nothing else, nothing more. You focus on the nothing, shows you the mass of everything. Okay? Adios.